The science is pretty clear. Being obese comes with a lot of health risk factors. And for those who do want to lose weight, it's tough. I'm a big fan of bringing in whatever we can do to help people achieve their goals. You've probably heard of GLP-1s. We do have Ozempic, we have Wegovy, we have Mounjaro, and we have one that's not technically approved yet, but it's really popular in the bodybuilding and fitness world called Retatrutide. Is it natural? No, but nor is indoor plumbing, but we still use toilets. When GLP-1 is activated, it does increase insulin in response to food. So when we eat, it helps with that. It decreases glucagon secretion. It also prevents excess glucose production by the liver, which is pretty cool. The way that it works is Ozempic, also known as semaglutide, it's, technically it is a GLP-1 receptor agonist, and its main use is going to be essentially type 2 diabetes management and off-label use, weight loss. It kind of mimics GLP-1 to enhance insulin secretion, and then that reduces glucagon, and then it also slows gastric emptying. If your stomach stays full, it's a little bit easier to go ahead and back off, on the calories. And so it also helps suppress appetite. That's huge. By suppressing appetite, slowing gastric emptying, that helps a ton when it comes to the process of behavior change, especially if we start talking about, bodybuilders, and we start talking about how, when you're on gear or, different performance enhancing drugs, we tend to notice fatty liver develop. So there's some cool things with these peptides that can really help kind of reverse that. So typically it's given, in a weekly subcutaneous injection. So you basically just take this little insulin needle. You don't really feel it. It's honestly pretty painless. Stick it right into the fat and boom, done. This one, specifically semaglutide, it is approved by the FDA for diabetes. And if we look at Wegovy, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just going to have like a different dosage, and it's approved for specifically weight management in obese and overweight individuals. So the FDA would say that if your BMI is over 30, it's approved for that. Mounjaro, for example, is not a GLP-1 only agonist. It's a dual class. So yes, is it a GLP-1 receptor agonist? Yep, it sure is. But also it's a GIP agonist. And so GIP is known as glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Its primary use is going to be for type 2 diabetes management, and it's super great at that. But it also has really strong effects for weight loss. And so the way that it kind of works is it's a double agonist. And so just like GLP-1, it's going to increase insulin secretion. It's going to lower glucagon release. It's going to reduce blood sugar production. It's going to slow down gastric emptying. It's going to promote satiety and which eventually reduces food intake. Now, here's where it's really cool. The GIP-1, it activates that, and it enhances GLP-1 receptor agonism effects. So it boosts insulin secretion even further, which is pretty cool. We have signs, and we do see that it does reduce insulin resistance, which from a diabetic perspective, that's freaking cool. And that helps improve glucose control. And then also it kind of stimulates fat metabolism, which helps with weight loss. I have found from my own professional experience, it does lead to greater weight loss than semaglutide, basically Ozempic or Wegovy, due to the dual receptor agonism. But here's what's really cool. There's a new one that's out, and it's not approved yet, but it's being used by bodybuilders everywhere. And I'll be honest, it's fantastic. If we start looking at the research on it, because it is being studied, it's definitely most likely pretty darn sure going to get approved by the FDA. It is Retatrutide. And that's a triple agonist, which is really cool. By triple agonist, what I mean by that is, yes, it is a GLP-1 agonist receptor or a receptor agonist. It's also a GIP, and it's a glucagon receptor agonist. So, not only does it combine semaglutide and Mounjaro or, Ozempic and Mounjaro, it puts them together, but it also adds in the glucagon receptor activation, which actually helps increase energy expenditure and fat oxidation. So now you're talking about something that not only helps with the other stuff, but it also can increase your metabolic rate. And that helps a ton. Because at the end of the day, if you lose weight, the hardest part sometimes can be the reverse dieting aspect. And also just the fact that, if you lose weight, your caloric needs drop. So you kind of have to drop the calories, but this can kind of keep that metabolic rate high. And I mean, you can really cut weight fast with this bad boy. In terms of the bodybuilders, we're seeing bodybuilders when they have to cut down severely, we're talking like single digits, in terms of body fat percentage. We're not seeing a lot of muscle loss in that. And that's pretty cool. We're also seeing a lot of fatty liver get reversed. I just think that this peptide is going to be probably the most powerful anti-obesity drug that we're going to have. I'm willing to bet it's going to get approved within the next year. The potential reduction of the systemic burden on our healthcare system is, at least to me, incalculable. The single mom of 4 children who doesn't have time because she works 3 jobs and one of those jobs happens to be a night shift twice a week. She doesn't have time to meal prep. She has to do things at the most convenient possible level. And she's 87 pounds overweight. Who am I as a coach? Who are we as fitness professionals to tell her, hey, just spend more time preparing food? We need to recognize that shortcuts and science help us. Just because you're on a peptide doesn't mean you can just go eat nothing but Pop-Tarts and donuts and be great. We still need to consider, some level of nutritional behavior approach, which is where I, as a coach, love to come in and teach my clients that, because I want them to be able to use science to get better and to live life on their terms, because that's ultimately what it's all about. But I also want to teach them how to do things in a way that actually makes it, 1, more effective, 2, more sustainable, so they don't have to stay on it the rest of their lives necessarily, or so they don't have to go back on it once they get off.